Have you ever done something so obviously wrong that a few minutes later, you looked at yourself and thought, what was I even thinking? Or maybe the real question is, what was I not thinking? We've all been there. Maybe you sent a message while you were angry. Maybe you bought something online at midnight because it was 90% off, only to realize the next morning that you didn't even need it. Maybe you trusted someone too quickly. Maybe you made a decision that still makes you shake your head years later. Here's the interesting part. Most people blame failure, but I don't think failure is the real enemy. The real enemy is not thinking deeply before we act. Think about it. Imagine you're about to jump into a swimming pool. Wouldn't you check if there's actually water inside? Of course you would. But somehow, when it comes to life decisions, people jump first and think later. And then they wonder why things went wrong. Funny, isn't it? Let me tell you something. Failure is actually useful. Yes, useful. If you touch a hot stove once, you learn not to touch it again. If you fail an exam, you discover what you didn't know. If your first business doesn't work, you gain experience. Failure can teach, but refusing to think, that keeps teaching you the same lesson over and over again. And eventually, life starts asking the same question in different ways until you finally learn. Now imagine two people standing in front of the same opportunity. The first person says, everyone is doing it, count me in. The second person says, wait a minute, let me understand this first. Who do you think is more likely to avoid disaster? The second person. Not because they're smarter, not because they're richer, simply because they stop to think. Here's something even more interesting. Our brains actually love shortcuts. Your brain wants to save energy. It says, don't analyze, just react. Someone insults you? React. You see breaking news online? Believe it. Your friend tells you a rumor? Share it immediately, no thinking required. But shortcuts work on maps. They don't always work in life. Let me ask you a question. How many arguments could have been avoided if someone had simply asked, can you explain what you meant? How many friendships could have been saved? How many businesses could have survived? How much money could have stayed in people's bank accounts? Sometimes the most powerful action isn't doing more. It's pausing, just pausing, because 1 minute of thinking can save months of regret. Here's a small experiment. The next time you're about to make an important decision, don't ask yourself, is this exciting? Ask yourself 3 different questions. What facts do I actually know? What assumptions am I making? And what could happen if I'm wrong? Simple questions, powerful answers. You know what's fascinating? Some of the world's greatest discoveries happened because someone refused to accept the obvious answer. They kept asking, why? Why does this happen? Why do we believe this? Why can't there be another way? Deep thinking isn't about being slow. It's about being intentional. It's about refusing to let emotions drive the car while logic sits in the back seat. And here's something worth remembering. A fast, wrong decision is still wrong. A slow, thoughtful decision can change your life forever. So the next time you're angry, think. The next time everyone is rushing in one direction, think. The next time social media tells you to panic, think. The next time someone promises easy money, definitely think. Because your biggest enemy isn't failure. Failure can become your teacher. Your biggest enemy is acting without understanding. It's living on autopilot. It's accepting without questioning. It's choosing speed over wisdom. The people who build extraordinary lives aren't always the most talented. Very often, they're simply the ones who pause long enough to think deeply before they act. And if you enjoyed this conversation and want more videos that challenge the way you think and help you make better decisions, make sure you subscribe to Thinking Deeply Now here on YouTube and follow Thinking Deeply Now on TikTok. We're building a community of people who don't just react to life, they understand it. Until next time, stay curious, ask better questions, and never stop thinking deeply.